With us now is Democratic Congressman Seth Moulton of Massachusetts. Congressman, welcome. You're getting ready to head to Chicago yourself.
Chris, good to see you.
It's been reported that lawmakers have been told to take precautions because of the protests already taking shape there, even not booking hotel rooms under your own names. What are you hearing? What are you expecting?
Well, obviously, law enforcement is taking this seriously, and I have deep respect for everything that they are doing to make sure that the convention is safe. But I'm not too concerned about this myself. Frankly, there's a protest in front of my office almost every week. I don't mind talking to protesters, so I'm not going to try to avoid it. I'm letting everyone know that I plan to attend.
All right. Pro-Palestinian groups have already changed their signs from Genocide Joe to Killer Kamala. The Harris campaign has been working to bring this faction of the party back into the fold. The vice president has met with Arab American leaders, including Dearborn Mayor Abdullah Hammoud, one of the chief antagonists of President Biden's pro-Israel policies. Are you comfortable with where the Harris campaign is on this issue and what you're hearing from the vice president?
Yes, I am, and she's basically continuing the policy of the Biden administration, and the Biden administration has been incredibly supportive of Israel, but has also been willing to criticize Prime Minister Netanyahu when the Biden administration feels that the Netanyahu government is not doing enough to make sure that there is a long-term peaceful solution to this conflict, which, by the way, are the same sentiments you hear echoed by many officials in the IDF, in Israeli intelligence right now. So I'm someone who absolutely wants to see an end to this war, but I also want to see Israel win and defeat Hamas. I think the Harris administration wants to continue that policy from the United States, standing by our ally Israel, but also bringing an end to this conflict and ensuring that it doesn't develop into a wider war in the Middle East that could draw in U.S. troops.
We keep hearing about we're very close to a ceasefire. We're very close to a ceasefire. We've never been closer to a ceasefire. How close do you think we really are to a ceasefire?
Well, I think it's still tough. I think that there are elements of both sides that don't want a ceasefire for hostages deal, which is really what's at stake here. We've got to get those hostages back. I mean, it's been an enormous amount of time since the horrific attacks of October 7th. So bringing the hostages back and having a long-term political solution to this conflict, something that we learned in Iraq and Afghanistan, is so critical to actually bringing a conclusion to the war. You can't win this by military means alone. You've got to have a political solution. I've been pushing Prime Minister Netanyahu to come up with a political endgame since just a week after October 7th. He still doesn't have one. And that's concerning for everyone who not only wants the hostages back, but wants to ensure long-term peace.
Okay, turning the page here. On Friday, the vice president gave us our first hint at an agenda laying out some economic priorities if she wins in November. The centerpiece, federal price controls on groceries. It was well received by the audience in swing state North Carolina and certainly echoes some of the populist sentiments we've been hearing from Republicans. But economists left, right, and center are not too impressed. Here's what Jason Furman, chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors under President Barack Obama, had to say. This is not sensible policy, and I think the biggest hope is that it ends up being a lot of rhetoric and no reality. There's no upside here, and there is some downside. So which one do you think it is? Is this a campaign talking point stuff that doesn't materialize into real policy of the government setting prices on eggs? Or is this pointing the direction in where you think a Harris administration goes?
Well, I think this is basically a statement of vision at this point. I mean, she's building the plane as she flies it right now, jumping into this campaign so late. But what you hear from Vice President Harris is what her priorities are. And she realizes that bringing down grocery prices is really important for middle-class Americans, middle-class Americans like myself. I mean, we see the prices at the grocery store. Our stores are out of control. And she knows that's an important thing for American consumers. That's why the reaction in North Carolina was so positive to her speech. She also talks about bringing down housing prices. That's another thing that's really important to Americans. So, Trump wants to increase the profits of oil companies. He wants to cut taxes for billionaires. That's his vision for improving the economy of America. Like, Harris's vision is very different. But I think on both sides, we still have a lot of details to work out.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.